Hey Gigi, it's Brian. I'm going to go over my thoughts on the school and community-based tobacco policies workshop. The overarching goal of this is to give people a sense of what tools are out there in terms of policy. So it's a broad overview. This session, like all of them, was designed for a particular client and then sort of gets reused without really knowing what this client wants. So I just found out that a lot of the people showing up are partnership members. So they're not actual tobacco control practitioners. They're people who are just involved and affiliated. So I'm not really sure what to do with that. My immediate thought is the actual information side is going to be more than the discussion side, because asking them what they know, they're probably not going to know as much. But I still want to do what it says in the script, which is open up with a conversation. What do they know about their policies in the school, in the community, in workplaces, and just see what they know about what's going on in their county or in the surrounding counties. In terms of policies, I mean, in tobacco control, there seem to be a few big issues. So schools, you want a tobacco-free policy that covers everything. And so in the presentation, you'll see an actual model school tobacco-free policy. So we want to talk about that and show what's actually in that. So what makes it comprehensive versus one that they might just write up or that their county commissioners did a few years ago. So we also want to encourage them to find out, what does their policy say? Is it enforced? That's part of the comprehensiveness of a good policy, is that it's actually having an effect. So the school stuff, I mean, again, if you just go through the presentation, there's a lot of different examples. The tools that are online, that's a piece we want to push, that these tools are available for them to look at online. They're very easy to use, and that, as partnership members, they can help make sure that these actually get looked at. A second part to the presentation is community. So in some sense, that just means outside the school. And there's a whole section there about penalties, which is kind of like enforcement, but different, and we should actually talk more about enforcement now I think about it. But the penalties is, so if you break it, is there any teeth? A lot of these county policies say you can't smoke within a certain area, that there's fines if you do certain things, but they don't ever get enforced. So we want to talk about that. But also, is the penalty $25 or is it $100? Big difference in terms of the impact that can make on people. So I guess that's in the presentation, but general community policies, a lot of what I was thinking about is how do we think about what a policy does in terms of affecting people's behavior in many different locations. Because often people think of policy as something where you're sort of out in the city and a cop is walking around looking at you. A lot of policies have a lot more to do with the workplace, have a lot more to do with in cars, in your homes, places that we don't really think of cops walking in and doing something about. So you want to think about how these are, somewhat different. There's some examples I like in the script from other cities, and I like bringing these up. A lot of people don't know that other cities have taken more seriously the idea of smoking near entrances, period. Not school entrances or hospitals, but any entrance. And that there's big fines. Some of these places have $500 fines, which is, real. And then internationally, Australia, you can't use spit tobacco. That's something that can be possible. In Tokyo, individual neighborhoods have said that you can't smoke on the streets, period, in the neighborhood. There's a lot of possibilities around this. I like the example, and I added a slide about hiring practices. One policy I really like is different government agencies in Florida, and so I'll send this to you, but including Hernando County, Hillsborough, Pasco counties, Sarasota, different branches of the government, they don't hire smokers. The sheriff's office in Hernando County, if you smoke, you can't become a sheriff deputy at all. If you're currently a smoker and you're currently an employee, they're not going to fire you, but they're not going to hire someone new who smokes. In Sarasota County, it's all government. So the health department, the mayor's office, if you want to be a secretary working for someone, you can't smoke. And it all has to do with health, the cost of health insurance, that they don't want to pay it. So I think that's sort of an interesting piece to all of this. Third-hand smoke was something that just got added. Did some research, but this has to do with smoke going in the air, and especially in the home and in the car, that the carcinogens and even some of the radioactive and noxious materials settle back down in the house and they stay here. So they get on the walls, they get in the carpet, and sit there. So especially for children crawling around on the carpet for days afterwards, they're still inhaling that stuff, the dust that sort of as the smoke settles, it forms. And so some places are actually taking that seriously, like Silicon Valley. You can't smoke inside, period. Um, and all this for me, all this policy stuff, schools and community, it's all about okay, so what are some options? What can you do well? That's fine. I also want them to think a lot more about um, what stuff we haven't even thought about. So again, places that are outlawing smokeless tobacco, places you can't smoke in public, with serious fines, I think is actually a really interesting, way for them to think. Probably based on these people being partnership members and not sort of the people actually in charge of the issue. We want to encourage them to be doing more with, okay, find out what your school policy is, make sure it's good. Look at your display policies. So try and get a policy passed where you can't have ads below 3 feet, or you can't have big displays around the cigarette or around the tobacco. You can't have it near candy. I think we want to look at all these and see what could they actually do as a partnership instead as a goal. I mean, that's my thought. We don't know who's going to show up. I don't know what they're really looking for. But yeah, I'm looking at your questions now. What's the ultimate reason why we want them to get this training? Because Laura promised it to them. Yeah, I mean it's on the agenda. I think what they can get out of it is what we said is what are tools. There's some online tools for for the school-based policies, and there's other ideas for making these other policies. There's examples online, I think, pushing them to know that these things already exist in Florida and around the country and around the world, that they can just borrow them and do them. So maybe that's a goal for this. Right, and also get them talking, because I mean, a lot of this and all this sort of entire day is going to be about getting them excited. At least for us, if they are partnership members and not professionals, they have to be engaged. So we want to get them talking. And I think opening up and even closing with just a conversation about, so what of this do you think your county needs? What needs to get done? One of your other questions, what are your expectations or goals of the workshop? I think the biggest one is what I was just talking about, is in the beginning and the end, having them talk about what they know and what's relevant. So then if they know all about, I don't know, they know all about the school, they just redid their school policy and it's great. Well, let's not spend time on it. Let's move through and just keep going on the other stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's, like always, I wanted to be helpful to them. Problem is, we often get set up where they're not even prepared to be in a place so that we can help them. I hope that they are there, and so then the session can be helpful, that we can actually talk about policy and it's something they want to do. We should ask them about their work plan. They probably don't know, but hopefully the TPS in charge of the county does. To get their grant money, they had to write out a work plan for the year. And we should ask them what's in their work plan around policy, because that might help us fine-tune what we're talking about. Yeah, and I guess another just thing to think about is pushing them. Who do they know that's a county commissioner or city council? Do they even know what policies exist around tobacco? Do they have a extra sales tax in that county? If they don't know, let's encourage them to go find out, because that's something they should do. Okay, I think that's everything for this. You can email my response. You could post a video response. We could have a dialogue or a series of monologues. Even better. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.